What collection did you have as a child that would have been worth a fortune now had your parents not thrown it away? South African coin collection that my older sister threw away without consulting anyone. Edit. Wow. It looks like this resonated with a lot of people. Thanks for all your responses and for the silver from the kind person. Stay well everyone. As a coin/foreign money collector, this hurt me. I'm sorry she did that, and I hope that there wasn't too much she threw away. And also, throwing away money happens more than you'd think. I see people with leftover cash from foreign trips just trash them because the effort to go get it exchanged into local currency is more than they'd get back due to the exchange rate and conversion fees, etc. And some people just stupid and don't know the value of things. I had a complete collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures. I packed them into a box and put them away, then later when looking for them, I couldn't find them. Asked my mother. Oh those, I threw them out. You weren't playing with them anymore. That's when you throw out the guest towels and find china. You weren't using them. You never use them would be my case. I never technically owned it, but I got to see it once. My grandfather's comic book collection. He would be 92 if still alive. It's in a chest in the original family home. Inherited by a hoarder who will probably lose it all someday. Honestly, better than that is a huge luggage trunks the family brought to the States when moving from Czechoslovakia in the 1800s. They are in the same attic. Why do hoarders always inherit the family home? Hoarding must work like gravity. The more stuff you have, the more stuff you get. My mom had a collection of signed Beatles records that she threw away after she converted to Christianity because played backwards they summoned the devil or something. For years I was hoping to inherit it. When I grew up, all I think it summoned was poverty. I met a lady who was a flight attendant on their first flight back to the UK from the US. They signed magazines for all the flight attendants. She had it appraised about 20 years ago and it was worth $10. 000. I had to read your comment 5 times to work out why the first commercial flight from US to UK was so significant to have such a high value for the flight attendant's signature. Nearly all of the first 24 editions of virtually every Marvel series, from the Fantastic Four to Spider-Man, including the Amazing Tales in which he was introduced, to Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. Basically all of them. At a comic book store I was once looking at some collector's editions of those comics priced at about $1,500 to $2,400. I said to the clerk, man, I used to have all of these. The clerk, whom I'm sure was Matt Groening's model for comic book man, without even looking up said in a bored voice, do you know how many times a day I hear that? Worst impression ever. Lol. This comic book store was on Hollywood Boulevard. In the late 70s, Matt Groening was living in Hollywood at the time, drawing life in hell. I'm completely serious when I say I bet that guy was his model for the Simpsons character. He looked and spoke exactly like that. About 40 Indian arrowheads collected on my grandparents' farm for years by myself and my grandfather, and full sets of baseball cards from 1969 to 1980. My mom decided to toss out all that junk when I moved out for military. I don't understand the instinct to do that. Put it in a box and shove it in a closet. That's where the stuff was. In a box. In a closet. Mom, God bless her, decided to turn my room into a guest room and thought that box was just junk. I had a huge collection of Magic the Gathering cards, all in mint condition dating back all the way to Alpha, that I collected as a young kid. My psycho mom decided that I had too much stuff that I enjoyed and threw out my collection and a bunch of other stuff. Sorry to hear you lost at least $100k. I'd be pissed too. Based on what I knew I had, it's almost $1 million plus that's just the cards. People that got disinterested all gave me their cards, so I had a ton of really expensive duplicates. Lots of original Star Wars toys. They wouldn't be nib. Definitely used, but still. Same man. Now I'm gonna grow up and become a dumpster truck driver. They actually earn a good amount though, at least in US. Geez. After my mom died, my dad met this crazy Jehovah's Witness bitch, and one thing led to another. About a month before my high school graduation we got into a huge fight over something, and she burned my collection of old D&D books and magic cards. Complete collections. Every first edition book in good condition signed by Jigux. Guess my brother knew him at some point. The real kicker? I rode the wave of the original Magic the Gathering launches back in the day. Complete sets of the original series through. Homelands? All burnt to a crisp. Every once in a while, when I want to be depressed about never being able to retire, I look up the card values. Edit. For the curious. This was almost 25 years ago. I don't even know if the crazy bitch was still alive, honestly. Removed. Rules for initiative. Not quite the same thing. But in 1997 I asked my parents to reinvest some money that was set aside for us by my grandfather, about $8,000 after tax, into Apple stock. They were correct to tell me no, but I never quite put the thought away. If they did, and were smart enough, that we kept it, not counting reinvested dividends, we'd have 127 shares today, at the current share price, $98. 453. 865. How my life could be different if my parents threw sanity to the wind and listened to their middle school age son about what he learned in class. It will be fun to bring that up every reunion, or whenever someone talks about money. Hey mom. Hey dad, remember when you literally refused to become rich? LMAO. My G.I. Joes, Transformers and He-Men, plus a bunch of Star Wars stuff. I don't know if they would be worth a fortune, but it wouldn't be small potatoes. I still have my He-Man action figures, and a bunch of the vehicles. Not surprisingly, if you don't have all the weapons, armor, or pieces of each item they are not worth much. I had every single Beyblade released in the US, until I went to college and my mom gave them away to a worthy cause. Turns out she dumped them in the trash. The man who drives the garbage van told me about them and asked me if he could take them home for his kid. I agreed anyway. Till Beyblades were worth more than shit. Like shit you can let it RIP. All these responses are the reasons I keep all my son's stuff. He was a 90s kid. I have a big house with no one in it, so I have the storage room. And I figure, why not? If it can earn me a few brownie points for being the parent who didn't throw out all her child's possibly valuable stuff, I'm in. I have virtually nothing from my own childhood for various financial reasons, and my husband was one of those who always bemoaned the loss of various childhood things that were thrown out by his mom. So I think it's important to not stack up one more card against myself by being that mom. Whenever he's ready, I have all of his video game systems with all of their games and boxes. Pokemon cards, which are really mine now. Hehe. Street Sharks, Power Rangers, Superhuman Samurai, Beetleborg, Dragon Ball Z, and Star Wars/Star Trek stuff. Okay, admittedly I'm really attached to these things, but if he wants them one day, they're his. Edit. Thank you, kind stranger, for the gold, and everyone for all the upvotes. I'm humbled and honored. Beetleborgs? My partner loved those weirdos lol. I'm so curious as to what merch they even came out with. He'd be tickled to know someone else remembers them. I'm gonna blow your partner's mind. Then, get this, my son won a Halloween costume contest at Knott's Berry Farm when he was about 5 years old. And guess what the prize was? It was a $500 shopping spree at Toys R Us with the Beetleborgs. It was unforgettable. The Beetleborgs escorted us through the store, reaching up for things that were too high for my son to reach, and putting them in the cart. When we got to the Beetleborgs action figure aisle, they each grabbed theirs and held them out for my son to select. Needless to say, he has all the action figures, plus some of the weapons and vehicles. The Beetleborgs were so cute and nice to him. It was epic. Not any monetary value, but my dad got rid of my entire Lego collection when I was in the Navy. My sister is pregnant with her first child and mentioned she wished we still had my enormous Lego collection for him, her son. It may not have been worth a fortune, but it meant something to us. Lego is the one thing people throw or give away, and I don't get it. It's such a great toy for future grandchildren and doesn't break. My brother had a bunch of first edition Pokemon cards that he spent over a year collecting. Mom took them away for getting in trouble at school, and they were never seen again. Your mom sold them? I doubt it. Having experienced this kind of behavior, I can say that there are some parents that are just that stupid, uncaring and remorseless that they will actually attempt discipline through these sorts of tactics. I had over 1500 Pokemon cards and I gave them to my little cousin because he had a short-lived Pokemon phase, and now I'm wondering how much it was really worth. Not a lot. I've checked prices on mine. Only some of the first generation ones are really valuable, and those are highly dependent on condition. Okay, thanks. That gives me some comfort. Magic the Gathering cards. That Black Lotus and pretty much a lot of banned cards would be gold by now. I started in '94. My collection in the early 2000s wasn't bad. Plenty of beta and revised duels. Some P9 in good shape. And plenty of stuff from the early years. I left for basic training, and my parents moved. Then moved again. I come back about a year later, and start going through my stuff to see what I wanted to bring with me to my duty station and what I wanted to throw away. I asked my mom about my cards, and she said she gave them to someone for their kid to play with. It's not the potential price of those cards that's upsetting. It's how hard it would be to try to recreate even a portion of that collection. I play a Legacy, so I've got duels. But I'm not getting a Lotus ever again. My mass hoard of little pet shops. I miss them all. Oh, and I had collectible model horses apparently. I still have two that I looked on eBay to be selling in the hundreds, but I used to have 6, so don't edit. I hope I made some people realize that they could possibly be rich in toys. Ugh. I had so many Littlest Pet Shop toys, the original ones, not the reboot where they all have weird, giant eyes and bobbleheads. My mom gave them away. I had just assumed she was organizing them into a bin, so they'd be easy to find. But apparently she was boxing them to get rid of them. So all I have left is this one random dog and a gold feeding dish from a different set. Wait, are they really still worth something? I literally have hundreds, and I know where they are in my attic. I had this book my dad gave me as a child. It was my absolute favorite book and got lost somewhere in our various moves, which devastated me. My brother very thoughtfully went to buy it a couple years ago as a replacement, and it turned out it was a limited copy, no longer in print and worth a bloody fortune. Needless to say, he didn't buy it, but it's on my bucket list to get a copy. I just googled it again, and looks like there's a couple copies available and much more affordable than they were a couple years ago. Maybe my dream will come true sooner than later. Title: he probably doesn't want to drive up the value even further by mentioning it. Barbies. My family wasn't super well off growing up, but for some reason they allowed my sibling and I to amass dozens of Barbies, hundreds of clothes, 2 doll houses, 3 cars, 1 RV, a plane, and so ducking much else besides. When I was 12 and had outgrown it all, my dad decided it was time to pass them on to younger cousins or otherwise get rid of them. Looking back, we should have held on to most of it. I had celebrity Barbies, anniversary Barbies, Barbies that came with horses, all were ballerinas, all were otherwise novel in the Barbie world. I literally spent 10 years collecting Barbies and now don't even have a single shoe to show for it. My god. Same. I had maybe 20 that were still in their boxes. BC I outgrew them long before my grandparents stopped sending them. I had dream house, penthouse, cars. I had a fashion runway thing. At one point I had an entire room full of Barbie stuff. My mom ended up throwing a bunch out BC she couldn't be bothered to move it, and she didn't tell me to come get it. Lots of Nintendo stuff. Basically thrown away when they took it to Goodwill. Is Nintendo stuff worth anything? I checked a few years back and didn't think it was. Depends on the stuff. As time goes on it will be worth more. That said, in the early 2000s, you could buy most common Nintendo games for like $2. Now you'll be lucky to find a game for $15. As the stock thins out over time, they'll get more collectible. I really think Northeast's cards are the baseball cards of this era. A time will come when they are very rare and desirable. It certainly won't be worth a fortune. But I had all 6 of the Hercules plates McDonald's was giving out during the movie release. I was so proud of my collection and I ate dinner on one of those plates almost every day of the week. Of course I grew out of them and probably let my mom throw them away, but I wish I had them now. My husband still has all of his pogs, like a chest full of them. Please someone tell me they are worth something. Worth memories, at least. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.